Welcome everybody to a new post in the TFRP group with Avi Tenenbaum and a few administrative announcements before we begin. So we have between 100 to 150 people that listen to TFRP every single week. That's very exciting. We started this Erev Yom Kippur. It's not to become rich and not famous, but we found a lot of ideas over the last several decades that really changed our lives and the lives of some other people that we were in touch with. And we said, wow, how could it be that I'm this old, I've been learning this many years, and I never found this idea. No one ever told it to me until now. How could that be? And we're trying to make the world a better place, and we're trying to share some really incredible, life-changing ideas that we think can really make other people's lives very easy. People in therapy, people in the 12-step groups, people who have some larger-than-life challenges, what I call the real people. The real people, those people are in my tribe, and we're always trying to find those amazing ideas and share them with one another. So if you hear a video and you like it and you think it's relevant, please let people know about the video. Share the video. If you watch it on YouTube, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you listen to it on Google Drive or you listen to it on the website link, that's great too. Share that as well if you feel it's worth sharing, okay? Because the idea, again, is to be marba kavod shamayim and to share some really amazing ideas. They're not my ideas. I take no credit for them, but they are amazing ideas that I found over the last several decades. And I always said, hey, how come I never heard about that till now? I can't believe I've been living 20, 30 years without knowing that idea. So here we are trying to share them with you. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, send questions to tfrpgroup@gmail.com. And now let's begin. So Reb Yisroel Salanter says that the main way of fighting the Yetzer Hara is before you get into a nisayon. It's before the Yetzer Hara attacks you. And he says this is like the army. Because in the army, let's say Ukraine right now is being surrounded by Russia, if you're following the current events, and Ukraine has some sort of military, and if the people in that military never did any training, and they just have a bunch of uniforms on, but they don't know how to shoot, and they don't know how to drive, and they don't know how to do different tactics and different war games and exercises and scenarios, then it doesn't really help that they're officially part of the army in the Ukrainian army, right? Because they're not really going to know what to do when they get attacked by Russia. And so any real army, they train people months, years in advance. Hopefully nothing will ever happen, but when a war comes, all of a sudden they're going to be prepared for it and they're going to be ready. And there's a very big misunderstanding in the world that when a person has tests, they're meant to just overcome the test. And if a person has a big nisayon in temptation, they're meant to just bulldoze through with willpower and somehow overcome the temptation. And it literally does not work that way. And that's what Reb Yisroel Salanter is saying. 99% of the work that you're going to do in overcoming a test in life or overcoming temptation is going to be the training that you do before you get into that situation. It's working on your character traits before you get into that situation. If you remember, we had a TFRP video called Being a Mensch Helps Combat Lust. And we were talking about the type of person that you make yourself to be day to day. It's that person that you bring with you to the fight when all of a sudden a nisayon, a test in life, comes your way. So that means every single day, the most mediocre, mundane, boring day, the little choices that we make and the things that we do to work on ourselves and the self-improvement and insight that we have, it's those things that prepare us for the big test that has not yet come. And then all of a sudden when the test comes, then we know that we're prepared for that test. I'm going to give another mushroom to this idea from law enforcement, right? Let's say a person is in the police, and they might one day have to be in a gunfight. They might have to be in some very dangerous, scary situations. They might have to manage a hostage situation, So what do? What they do is they prepare and they train before they're in those situations, month after month, day after day, week after week. They go to the shooting range and they take different classes. And then what happens is the moment that they find themselves on the beat and one of these situations comes up, then what they already practiced for years in a row comes out of what's called today muscle memory. Like what they already learned and already practiced just comes out of them. And that's how this works, right? Because Reb Yisroel Salanter says that during a nisayon, you don't have time to think. You have no mind. Your mind is kind of impaired. It's overwhelmed. It's overtaken by fear or by lust or whatever it might be. And so that's not the time to start figuring out what to do. Now, of course, if you didn't train and didn't prepare beforehand, and the Yetzer Hara is surrounding you and trying to take you over, you should probably still do something. So I'm not saying you shouldn't do anything. You should do something, but that's not the main way that we overcome the Yetzer Hara. And, this is a very big misunderstanding that I think a lot of Jewish people have, is that they have this idea, the way to fight the Yetzer Hara is to overpower the Yetzer Hara and just bulldoze through with willpower. And it doesn't work that way. And I think this is a gross misunderstanding of a number of Chazals. We do find many Gemaras in Shas which talk about scenarios where people were overwhelmed with lust. And then it says, if you're overwhelmed with temptation and you have no other choice and you decide you're going to give in, do X, or all sorts of halacha shilas that came up with people that were so consumed with taiva that they felt they were going to lose their mind. What should they do? But you shouldn't be in that situation, and you should have trained and prepared a lot before that situation so that when those situations come, we know what to do. And that's what Reb Yisroel Salanter says. The main work of the Yetzer Hara is before the test comes, so that when the test comes, it just comes out of you. Okay? This answers the famous willpower question, because a lot of people say, Avi, I just can't find unlimited resources of willpower. I meant to just bulldoze through the Yetzer Hara, right? But for some reason, I just can't find the unlimited power to do that. Sometimes I feel interested in doing that, not interested in doing that, doing it more, doing it less. The answer is that's not how you fight the Yetzer Hara. You're supposed to first change your relationship with temptation, change your relationship with other people, change your relationship with money, change your relationship with haughtiness and with your ego and all the different things that the different tests in life pit us against. You're supposed to be working on those beforehand, and once you do that, then you're able to overcome and do what you have to do during the Nisayon, right? Once Russia attacks Ukraine, but Ukraine already has a bona fide army, they've done their training, they've practiced on their weapons, they've done war games, they've done all the training that they can, they've practiced and prepared and imagined different scenarios happening. Now, once Russia would invade, all of a sudden, now they know what to do. They've done the best that they can. They can't even do better than that. I'll tell you a quick story just to illustrate what we're talking about. One time there was a young man who very much wanted to do a very bad Aveira. And he didn't know what to do. He was consumed with lust. He called up his rabbi. I was not his rabbi. He called up a person who was his rabbi and said, Rabbi, what should I do? The rabbi said, quick, take a cab and go to the kotel and pray. So the guy went, took a cab, went to the kotel, prayed, came right home, and did the deed that he was afraid he would do. Now, was it a bad suggestion to go to the kotel? Would I have told that to him? I don't know if I would have told that to him or not. Maybe it was a good idea. You got to do something anyways. Prayer might have helped. You should always pray. You should always try. That's true. But that's not where the meat and potatoes is of overcoming tests in life. It's working day to day on ourselves, understanding our limitations, understanding the way that we relate to different aspects of life, the way that we get close to some dangerous people or dangerous things and just dip in a little bit, and learning that and noticing that about ourselves and using restraint and growing. And when we do that day to day, ultimately it all adds up to help us overcome the Yetzer Hara. We should have a beautiful week. The main preparation is beforehand, not during hand. And this is so important. Remember this, guys. And Hashem should give us tremendous siyata d'shmaya to do all the preparations before the tests, so that when they come, everything that we learned and everything that we did to make ourselves who we are at that moment will come out and aid us at that time.